Okay, you guys, we are back with the grand finale of the interesting thing that happened at Perfect Acres Inc. by Barbara Brooks Wallace. Oreo Jr., you saw, got slam dunk back there because we got to get this show on the road. It's going to be a long one, but a good one, y'all. So get ready. You ready, Scott?
Right.
Here we go. Now remember, Perfected and fell out the bed and woke up and said, "Oh my God, it was a dream. It was all a dream. She used to read Word Up magazine. Salt and Pepper Heavy D up in the magazine." Shout out to Notorious B.I.G.
Was it really?
We don't know, but this is what happened.
Mm.
Uh-huh. Breaking that fourth wall, baby. As soon as she recovered from the surprise of being back in her room, Perfecta reached up and felt for the spectacles. She was like, "Oh, I can't see." There were none. Then she reached into her pajamas pocket, and rummaged around for her covers of the night. There was none. Her pockets was empty, and not a single bit of stars prickled her fingers. Had she dreamed it all? How could she have when she ached from having tumbled down the stairs? But might not the aches have come from tumbling out of bed? She jumped to her feet and ran swiftly to the window. She almost felt as if the old house would not be across the street either, but it was reassuringly there, just as it always had been. So the next question was, would Puck be there as promised?
Mm.
Mm. Girl, I hope he didn't keep you on red.
I think I'll be there.
Okay, period. Scott's bet is that he gonna be there. Oh, he must be there. He simply had to be. Perfecta couldn't bear to think that none of this had happened at all. Still, standing at the window would not answer any questions. She must cross the street and find out at once. She started for the door, only to remember that she was still in her red and white striped pajamas. The street was deserted, but someone might appear. With no covers of the night to help her suddenly disappear, she decided she ought to be properly dressed. Yeah, girl, you don't want Mr. Snoop finding you out there with girl. Okay. So she lost no time in throwing off her pajamas and jumping into a blue skirt, white blouse, and sneakers. Grateful that her mother and father had not yet put in an appearance, she raced through the house and into the street. Is anybody thinking to themselves like this little heifer just keep running away from home without her parents knowing?
Well, she's an independent young lady.
Period. Pooms, pooms, pooms. Her heart banged away in her head or in her chest like a toy drum as she stepped off the sidewalk and crossed over to the old house. She had only just left Mr. Snoot in what appeared to be great danger, and she had really felt sorry for him. But now she was back in her old familiar surroundings, and everything was the way it had always been, which included her feelings about Snoop. Uh-oh, I told y'all, here we go. I'm a psychic. Pooms, pooms, pooms. Oops, there it is right there. Even though at the moment there was no telescope at the window, no more snores, and no Mr. Snoot in sight either, it didn't hurt to repeat a charm for good measure. When Perfecta ran up the path to the tipsy porch and across it to the oak door, knock, knock, knock. The blackened brass door knocker sounded just as it had when Perfecta had used it the night before. Okay, girl, maybe he is now. And with the final knock, the door flew open in the very same way it had before. But what a difference inside. No longer did the wood floors gleam. No longer were the paneled walls a cheerful glossy white. And no more did the banister of the staircase glow as if it had just been waxed and polished. Everything looked as Perfecta had expected it to look the first time she entered. neglected and forlorn. It seemed as if the only thing that had moved in the house for years was the softly falling dust. Girl, you better get Miss Whatchamacallit over there so she could dust it off for you. Which had been ample time to lay a thick cloak over every inch of wood and plaster. Then her heart leapt. There were footsteps in the dust, headed into the living room.
Oh,
Is anybody else out there thinking this might be like a homeless person and it may not be a good idea to follow them footsteps? Because I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Would y'all?
probably not a good idea, but I bet you she will.
Put in the comment section. Would y'all follow them footsteps in an abandoned home? She put a hesitant sneaker into one of the footprints and found that it was much too large to have been one of hers left from the night before. Uncle Mi's, perhaps? Oh, could it belong to Uncle My? Girl, did we not say in the beginning that Uncle My went for a pack of cigarettes and or some milk and he will not be coming back?
Mm.
But let me stop interrupting. Let me get into this. Perfecta flew into the living room and then threw a hand to her mouth to suppress a squeak of terror.
Oh.
Too late. The person standing by the cold fireplace grate, deeply engrossed in a letter, looked up. And it was not Uncle My.
Oh, no.
Mm-mm. It was a homeless dude named Randy. No, I'm kidding.
No.
It was Mr. Drooper P. Snoot. He was in an old blue sweater with comfortable patches on the elbows and in a baggy cotton trousers instead of his grim black suit. But it was Mr. Snoot all the same. Perfecta backed away, eyes frozen on him like a hypnotized rabbit. You don't have to run away, child, Mr. Snoot said. Oddly, he wasn't frowning or scowling or wearing his usually mean expression. He appeared to be in a kind of trance. Perfecta didn't trust this for a moment. Girl, I wouldn't either. And that's why you shouldn't have followed them footsteps. But let's get back to the story. Perfecta did. Oh, wait until he came out of it and realized who she was. Me? She stammered, taking another step backward just to be on the safe side. Of course you, Perfecta Jones. There's no one with you, is there? Replied Mr. Snoot. No. Well, then, it must be you, I mean. Come on along in, child. Perfecta took 2 small, very careful steps towards Mr. Snoot. Then she took 2 more. And then Mr. Snoot smiled. It probably terrified the hell out of everybody. Like, oh. Remember when well, I don't know if anybody out there has seen the Addams Family. Remember Wednesday they were like, "Could you smile?" And she was like, and then everybody started screaming. I feel like that's what it looked like when Mr. Snoot smiled. He was like, "Come here, child." Okay, anyway, sorry. Back to the story, y'all. Let's stop gagging. Back to the story. He actually smiled. Something that Perfecta had never before seen him do. And suddenly his eyes no longer appeared to be mean, dark slivers eyeing her suspiciously. They had turned into nice, ordinary, everyday blue eyes. His mouth was a nice, ordinary mouth, and his nose, that terrible, long, pointed nose, was really just an ordinary nose. A little on the stubby side, if it was anything. It really was amazing what a smile could do.
Wow.
Does that sound like someone, Scott? Someone who doesn't smile?
Yeah. I was thinking about that.
But this was still mean old Mr. Snoot. Perhaps he was ill or had gone a little mad. Best be careful. Best turn and run home as fast as her legs could carry her. Yet Mr. Snoot was still smiling. Should she run? Shouldn't she? Should she? It was such a very nice smile. Perfecta inched forward. Splendid child, said Mr. Snoot. Then suddenly he shook his head, as if to clear his brain. He looked puzzled. You know, I didn't fall asleep until quite late last night, and then I had the most terrible nightmares. I didn't really remember any of them too clearly, but the odd thing is that when I woke up this morning, I felt as if I had been sleeping for years and years, and I feel perfectly marvelous. Like an absolute different person. What do you make of that? That you should see a doctor, she replied. No, I'm kidding. She didn't say that. I said that.
Ah,
Y'all thought yeah, honey, because he sound crazy. Perfecta, who had had a fairly remarkable evening herself, though she had no intention of telling Mr. Snoot about it, could hardly make anything of Mr. Snoot's evening. All she could do was shake her head. But the most wonderful thing of all is this a special delivery letter that arrived at my door this morning. Anybody else thinking it's a porn? It's his porn stash.
oh wow.
Mr. Snoot waved in the air a letter he held in his hand. I can't think of anyone I'd rather have to hear this news first than you. Sir, you do realize this is a child, right? A little weird and suspect. Me? Yes, you, Perfecta Jones. And would you like to guess what's in this letter? Perfecta could no more guess about the letter than she could about Mr. Snoot's evening. Once again, she shook her head. This letter says, Snoot drew out the words gleefully, that I am the proud owner of this house. It belonged to me all along, and they just found it out. Me. He danced a little jig all around the fireplace, looking as if he would pop with pride and happiness. Okay, girl, what's in the house, sir?
He likes the house.
Okay, period. Really, he does. But to Perfecta, he suddenly looked mean and pointed nose again. Oh, oh, oh. How could this have happened? The house belonged to Uncle My and Puck and Dickory, not terrible old Mr. Snoot. And he didn't fool her for a minute with his smiles. Okay, Scott, what does this word say?
Uh, at pop. At
Okay,
pop.
period. The old enjoy everything possible opportunity to pounce on perfecta rule. I don't, ma'am. Naturally, he wanted her to be the first person to hear the news. The person who loved the old house the most. What better way to get back at her? Get back at you for what, ma'am? What did you, what? You got beef, ma'am? Hmm. Wonderful indeed. Perfecta hurled caution out the door. What's wonderful about it? You're only going to tear it down, she shouted furiously. Tear it down? Mr. Snoot looked startled. Whatever for? Perfecta gritted her teeth angrily. Girl, don't do that because you're going to need some crowns if you keep doing that all the time, child. To to put up some more perfect acres boxes, that's whatever for. There, let Mr. Snoot do his worst to her and see if she cared. Pooms, pooms. Mr. Snoot hesitated and then bursted out laughing. Never. Why I would never tear down this wonderful old house. Not in a million years. You see, I'm going to come live in it and make it into the Playboy Mansion.
Oh, wow.
I'm kidding. Just wanted to check and see if you guys were listening. And living it exactly the way it is.
What? All run down and cake to dust?
That's what I was thinking. Like, is anybody else out there thinking like, sir, you ain't gonna dust it out or renovate it? Get that lady down the street to just come with her little dustpan. She an adult again. She can dust. She ain't no princess right now. She can dust. Perfecta was too dumbfounded to say a word. All she could do was stare. Now, said Mr. Snoot, wouldn't you like to know how it is I came to save this or to have this house? Aren't you the least bit curious? Sir, I'm 10. That's what she should have said. Sir, I'm like 10. Like, sir, I don't know nothing about what? You don't want to talk to one of the adults? Curious, Perfecta was absolutely unaliving to know what this all was about. Though she couldn't so much as squeak out one word. She finally just nodded. Well then, if you sit down here where or sit down right down where you are in the dust, I'll tell you the story. Mr. Snoot waited until the speechless perfecta had dropped down into the floor and sat cross-legged before him. Leaning comfortably against the fireplace mantel, he began. Years and years ago, when I was just about your age, my mother and father both unalived in an accident. That's so sad.
Mm. Poor little Snoot.
Yeah. Poor little Droopert.
Droopert, that's the person.
The only happiness I had then was that I went to live with my uncle, whom I loved almost as much as my mother and father. One day, he went off on an ordinary trip to sea and was lost. I was all alone again.
An ordinary trip to sea?
Mhm.
Okay. That didn't.
Maybe he was on the most deadly catch. We don't know. We don't know.
Just an ordinary trip to the sea.
Just an ordinary trip to the sea. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? SpongeBob. He was going to visit SpongeBob.
Now he's lost at sea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He used to tell me about a house he had brought that one day he and I would live in. I never did get to see it, but he made it sound like a magical house with a roof that reached almost to the stars, stairs that went up and up to an attic full of secrets, and even a small set of stairs that went no place at all, just there for fun, like the ones right behind you.
Hmm.
Hmm. My uncle had an old-fashioned phonograph and a rug with spots on it that looked like musical notes, and I used to imagine dancing jigs on it in that house. This very house. For he left it to me, and no one ever knew it because all the papers were lost. Mhm. And now they've been found, and I'm finally here. Think of it. Perfecta was thinking of it. She was thinking something else too, for questions were tickling the back of her mind. She simply had to find out more of Mr. Snoot's story. When hmm, when you were left all alone, where did you go then? She asked. Well, the housekeeper who always looked after me when my uncle was away couldn't keep me, and nobody knew what was to be done with me. Finally, my mother's stepsisters agreed to take me, Aunt Guinevere and Aunt Safina. Oh, they were so different from my mother. They hated children, and I was expected to grow up as quickly as possible. All day long, they told me over and over again in all kinds of ways that it was bad to be a child, as if they had never been children. It wasn't long before I believed it. I'm sorry it made me grow up into a terrible person, and I'm sorry. I hope you'll forgive me. Atonement is a wonderful thing, isn't it, y'all? Oh, yes, said Perfecta, who, besides being grateful, patient, and prudent, had a very forgiving nature. But at the same time, the questions kept tickling and tickling away. Did did you ever call your aunts by any other names? She asked. Mr. Snoot grinned a surprisingly boyish grin. I think I did when I first went to live with them. And I don't believe they were very nice names either. But they flew out of my head when I had to stop being a little boy, and I'm afraid I can't remember them now. Why do you ask, child? Perfecta didn't know how to reply. How could she? How could she explain what happened to her the night before? How could she tell Mr. Snood that his nightmares had somehow become mixed up with her real life adventures? Or, or was it a real life adventure?
Hmm.
She couldn't bear to think it was all a dream, but what if it was? Was it possible for one's dreams to become all tangled in someone else's dreams, good or bad? She had never heard of such a thing ever. Girl, you 10. So Mr. Snoop might as well think she was quite mad if she mentioned it. Best say nothing about it. Still, the questions tickled and tickled. Aunt Guinevere and Aunt Fina, Auntie Glumper and Auntie Squint. My uncle was lost at sea. Uncle My, the sea captain.
Oh.
hmm Well, then, do you have any other questions? Mr. Snoot asked finally. Oh, yes, Perfecta did indeed. Did did you ever have a dog when you were a little boy? Why, yes, I did, replied Mr. Snoot cheerfully. But then his face suddenly crumpled, almost as if he was going to cry. He lived with me and my uncles, or he lived with me at my uncle's, but Auntie Guinevere and Auntie Safina had someone come and take him away. They hated animals as much as they hated children. Who the hell let these people take you, child? You were tortured. I never saw him again. For a moment, he almost seemed to have forgotten Perfecta's presence. It was clear that this was an unbearably sad memory. But at last he smiled again. Now then, Perfecta, I think we should go at once and explore this wonderful house. Girl, don't trust that. You in an abandoned house with a grown up, and you 10. Mm-mm. In real life, this would be a no go for me. But y'all put it in the comment section. What y'all think? Should she go with him or not? Now then, Perfecta. Oh, wait. He paused and then repeated her name. Perfecta. Perfecta Departmenta. What terrible names to give a poor defenseless child. Isn't that what we said? Isn't that what we said? Don't be naming your kids any old thing. Isn't that what we said?
It was sad.
Whatever made your parents do it? To to please you, I think, said Perfecta. To please me? Oh dear, what a terrible person I've been. Thank goodness for nightmares.
What?
You think the people that were in Nightmare from Elm Street was thinking that? Thank God for Freddy Krueger in my nightmares.
Hmm.
But certainly something can be done to correct your name. Can you think of something you prefer to have me call you, child? It took Perfecta less than a second to do that. What do y'all think the name was?
Puck.
No, that's his name.
Oh.
Purr.
Purr.
Purr, she said at once. Purr. What a charming idea, exclaimed Mr. Snoop. Reminds me of a content kitten. But now that we've done something about your name, we should do something about mine. Drooper P. Snoot, which we said too. We said this too. Drooper P. Snoot isn't my real name, you know? That was my aunt's idea to give me their last name and invent a new first one. I intended to go back to being Peregrine. That's the P Brown. Wait, what? Peregrine?
Peregrine, maybe.
Sir, just stick with Drooper. Let's. Just stick with Drupert. Don't do this. Just stick with Drupert. That's sad that I gotta say that, but don't change it to the P. Don't just change it to the D. Change it back, sir. Mr. Snoot, now Mr. Brown, hesitated. But I would like it so much if you called me what my uncle Puck or my uncle My, or what if you called me uncle? Would you purr? Um, yes, said Perfecta shyly. But uncle what? You can call me Uncle Peregrine, said Mr. Brown. That's a big elephant of a name, though, like Perfecta. He added a weary smile. If only I could remember the name my uncle used to call me when I was very small. I believe I liked that name a great deal before my aunts managed to drive it from my memory. Perhaps I'll think of it in time. But now I want so much to go exploring. After first doing one more thing. Mr. Brown took an old worn wallet from his pocket and from it pulled a small faded photo. With the greatest care, he stood it up on the mantelpiece over the fireplace. I haven't looked at this in a very long time, he said softly. But I'm going to put it in a frame and it shall stay on this mantelpiece for as long as I live in this house. And now I'm ready to go. Let's start with the garden, shall we? Could I stay here for a few minutes? Perfecta asked. I'll come right out. Of course, replied Mr. Brown. But don't be too long. Then he went and Perfecta was alone. She scrambled quickly to her feet and ran down to the mantelpiece. Standing on her toes, she looked closely at the small photo left there by Mr. Brown. She could hardly breathe, for she was absolutely certain that what she was to see at last was the whole secret kept for so long by the old house. And there they were, Uncle My and Puck and Dickory, the man, the little boy, and his dog reunited forever. The photo was frayed around the edges and cracked from having lain folded in a wallet for so long. The subjects did look so solemn, having their picture taken, but at least they were together again, where they always wanted to be, and where they had always been wanted, in the old house. A house that need never appear sad or lonely or angry again because of all the things that happened so long ago. Had Uncle My and Puck and Dickory really come to see Perfecta the night before? Or had they just come in a dream? She would probably never know. But one thing certain was that one way or another, they had come because she could not possibly have imagined them. They had come to undo the terrible things done to Mr. Brown by Aunt Guinevere and Aunt Safina, the abominable Aunts Glumper and Squint. They were so terrible and frightening that Puck had tried to hide from them under his covers of the night, lest they catch him and twist his mind all over again as they had done before. Perfecta tried or turned to leave, but then stopped a moment to take one more look at the old photograph. She started and then turned and looked again and again closer. And oh, it was true. The change was so slight you could hardly tell it, but there was simply no doubt about it. Uncle My and Puck and Dickory were now smiling at her. Someday, Perfecta Purr would tell Mr. Brown about this and everything that had happened. And one of these things she would tell him about was the magic spectacles and how they had shown everyone's childhood wishes except his. Of course, she knew why. It was because she had been seeing all his wishes all along. Well, didn't it stand to reason that a young boy wore a sailor suit because he wanted to grow up and be a sea captain like his beloved uncle? And wasn't it a boy in a sailor suit with whom she shared her adventures right from the beginning? Great whiskers, Purr, came a shout from outside. Are you ever coming? Purr's heart did a giant somersault. If she had had any doubt before, there was none left now. I'm coming. I'm coming. Uncle, Uncle Puck. She ran out into the garden to meet him. The end.
That was nice.
Okay, guys, we have completed yet another book because we are thebomb.com, milgov, Oregon, edu. We readers over here. And you know how we end every book, but this was a long one. So tell me what stood out or what you learned from the book, from this chapter that we read, from the overall story. You guys put it in the comment section. We would love to hear it. But Scott, you get to personally say what you learned or what stood out from this story.
Let's go with learn at the end that Mr. Snoot pretty much got his childhood dream come true.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what being an adult is about. Like remember when y'all, well, I don't know if, but if you're still kids or if you're an adult, but when you're a kid, you're like, oh, when I grow up, I'm gonna do this. When I grow up, I'm gonna do that. And sometimes you get caught up in the mix of life and you forget. But Mr. Snoot had the opportunity to actually do the things he wanted to do when he grows up. And I suggest you guys do it too. Did you learn anything else?
I'm gonna stick with that.
Okay. I wrote down some stuff that I learned. I'm going to tell y'all real quick.
All right.
What stood out to me? Mr. Snoot was a product of his upbringing. He learned to be so mean and dismissive to protect himself from being hurt and abandoned again. He wore a mask. Most people, it's kind of like at your job, you act different at your job than home. And I think Mr. Snoot had made this mask for his aunties and he forgot to take it off. And that's why he grew up to be such a mean little, or, grown man, a miserably mean man. Perfecta was a mirror to all the things he never had in childhood. So he saw her being a kid and he was like, I ain't get to be no kid. So you don't get to be no kid. And don't nobody get to be no kid. Don't make those mistakes. Remember your childhood, guys, especially when you're raising kids. I had to remember too. Anyway, the people of Perfect Acres Inc. were repressed under Snoop because he employed them, but because they was repressed because he was a miserable person and misery loves company. Okay, well, period. Let's just and just what I learned. So that's what stood out to me. This is what I learned. Your childhood and trauma matters. If left unaddressed, it impacts others and can recreate what harmed you. Hurt people. So sometimes you're hurt and you recreate that trauma and then you become the monster and recreate that trauma in another. So just be careful of that, guys. Growing up, just be mindful of it. Sometimes you can change it, sometimes you can't. So period. And with that, we're going to end this book. And again, don't forget, when we come back, baby, we're going to point hard, baby. We're going to go back to the 90s. We're going to get some R.L. Stein, some Christopher Pike, some Sinclair Smith, all that good stuff. The next book we'll come back with for, our daily book, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, is going to be Sinclair Smith, Dream Lover. Oof, I can't wait to get into it. I'm excited. And I hope you guys will be excited. But with that, I'm gonna bid you guys adieu. We're gonna end this live. Happy Mother's Day to all the mommies out there. Don't create no childhood trauma. No, I'm kidding. Happy Mother's Day. And with that, we're going to end this live. So, as always, guys, we are so excited to share this space with you, share these readings with you, share these lessons learned with you. I hope that you guys enjoy it as well. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, check out some other videos, live, shorts, all that fun stuff. And so, from wherever we are, even if we're in our childhood trauma and we're masking and we're trying to figure out our way back out of it, to wherever you guys are, peace, love, and happiness. And we will see you guys next week with a new book and some more swag, period. I'll see you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye.
Bye.